to Stockholm. In 1912, this Swedish capital hosted the Summer Olympics. The weather's a little bit different now, but here we sit just over 100 years later with the eyes of the sporting world upon it again, as some of the MMA's best come in from the cold to see who's the hottest in the octagon inside one of the largest stadiums ever to host a UFC event. Tonight, the country famous for #1 ranked exports like Annika Sorenstam, Bjorn Borg, and of course ABBA will root for another native #1. Top-ranked light heavyweight contender Alexander Gustafsson. The 6'5" pride of Stockholm came closer than anyone to dethroning the champ John Bones Jones, and if he can win tonight, he'll get the rematch that UFC fans have been anticipating since that original fight went down. But standing in his way, an American who is as imposing as he is dangerous. Third-ranked Anthony Rumble Johnson may just be the most exciting fighter in the division today. And fresh off his 44-second knockout in his last UFC Fight Night appearance, he knows that another victory and the shot at the champ is his. That title eliminator is our main event, but before that, a pair of former Strikeforce champions collide in our co-featured bout, as the legend Dan Henderson puts all his skills and experience up against Gegard Mousasi, who's looking to make a statement about his arrival in the UFC. It should be action-packed. Just like the new movie Kingsman, The Secret Service, in theaters February 13th, rated R.
Tonight,
let me teach you a lesson.
A nasty group of fighters takes center stage.
Oh, big combination by Gustafsson.
As the best light heavyweights throw down. With a title shot on the line.
Are we going to stand around here all day, or are we going to fight?
Plus, Dan H-Bomb Henderson will try to unload against submission machine, 8th-ranked Gegard Mousasi.
Oh, huge right hand for Hendo!
And 5th-ranked Phil Davis takes on 7th-ranked Ryan Bader.
Ryan Bader with that big right hand!
You trust.
The Swedish mob is bringing down the house.
I guarantee it.
In theaters February 13th, rated R.
And we've got 4 scraps on tap for you tonight. The stakes are high, the drama is building, and the stage is just about set as we are only 4 minutes away from the latest edition of UFC Fight Night. Fox UFC Fight Night, sponsored by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. And don't forget, closed captioning is available for this broadcast. If you'd like to hear it in Spanish, just click over to the simulcast on Fox Deportes right now. Come on in and say a while, folks. I'm Kurt Menefee, and yes, you may be enjoying a quiet Saturday evening back home in the States, but here in Sweden, it's 2 in the morning. There's more than 26,000 people packed in here for what we expect to be a thrilling card. More on that in just a bit, but first, allow me to introduce the usual suspects to my left. Retired UFC middleweight Brian Stann, and over there, one of the best light heavyweights in the world, Mr. Daniel Cormier. Hello, boys. Welcome to Sweden.
Man, incredible environment. Are you kidding me? I know it's a little too cold for you, DC, but I'm having a heck of a time.
I am freezing.
It's been freezing and dark here, but the people are warm and happy inside. DC, I want to talk to you and Brian here just about this, because a couple weeks ago you went the distance in an exciting fight with the champ John Jones. However, Brian, no one really came closer to beating the champ than Alexander Gustafsson did when they met about 1.5 years ago. And Gustafsson knows that with a win tonight, he gets that much-anticipated rematch.
Well, and that rematch is all anybody wants to talk to him about, but Alexander Gustafsson has stayed razor-focused on this fight against Anthony Johnson. He is a brilliant mixed martial artist. His striking is some of the best we've ever seen in the UFC octagon. His movement is fantastic. He's also got a growing offensive wrestling game that has surprised many of his opponents, and he has learned so quickly. His ground game is solid, his ground and pound is vicious. A guy who can take you out with any one of his 4 limbs, hands, legs, knees, elbows, does not matter. This man is excellent.
Alexander Gustafsson can't look to John Jones because he has this man standing in front of him, Anthony Rumble Johnson. Demeanor, mean. Punches, mean. Anthony Johnson was a wrestler when he started, but you watch his highlight and all he does is knock people out. And it's not because of all the power that that he has is his ability to set him up. He knows how to trap you against the cage, and he knows that when he's got you hurt, Rumble Johnson knows how to pursue a finish like one of the best guys in the entire world. Anthony Rumble Johnson is really, really live tonight, and he believes he's going to beat Alexander Gustafsson.
All right, much more to cover as we continue to break down our main event in just a bit. But right now, we mentioned earlier just how large this crowd is here, literally in the middle of the night in Stockholm. In the middle of all the madness is Ariel Helwani with more. Ariel.
Kurt, what an amazing scene this is. The second biggest event in UFC history. The biggest outside of North America. Ticket sales coming from 44 different countries, and they're expecting close to 30,000 fans in this arena. And this event, by the way, will be broadcasted close to 1 billion homes worldwide. Now, this is very much an international event, but let's not forget what it means for Swedish combat sports. In my opinion, this is the biggest night in Swedish combat sports history since June 26, 1959. That's when Sweden's own Ingemar Johansson traveled to New York and knocked out the boxing heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson. Alexander Gustafsson is the second coming of Ingemar Johansson, and on this stage, in front of his people, he can become once again the #1 contender in the UFC's light heavyweight division. They are ready, Kurt. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot. And that's why Ariel is the man, not only a man of the Swedish people, but a history professor as well. And look, no event in the USA has ever had this many people at it for the UFC. In fact, the only one that tops this was at the Rogers Center in Toronto. You know, this is really a unique atmosphere for all these fighters and all of us watching this, Brian.
It certainly is, and it really shows you how big a star Alexander Gustafsson is. This is the second largest event in UFC history. The first largest went to a man by the name of Georges St. Pierre. Alexander Gustafsson is a god here in Sweden. We can't walk 10 feet without someone asking us, hey, how does he do it against Anthony Johnson? What round does he take him out in? These people love him, and it has been electric.
He is a bona fide star. But what's even more impressive is you don't understand that it is in the middle of the night and this place is rocking and rolling. Alexander Gustafsson has not stepped out. Every time he touches the screen, this place blows up. I wasn't in Canada. I saw it on TV and I was impressed. But I am impressed to be in here today. Once I said I wouldn't come to Sweden and fight Gustafsson, but if you can bring this many people in here, I'm coming to fight Alexander Gustafsson.
I tell you right now, for the record, the books in Vegas has Gustafsson as a 3-1 favorite just about. We'll break down the main event a little bit more and also talk about the other fights going on this card, including the return to 185 of MMA legend Dan Henderson, who will take on Gegard Mousasi, and Phil Davis meeting Ryan Bader. And we'll get the official predictions from these guys on the main event in just a bit. But first, we want to ask you at home to jump on Twitter and vote in our poll question. Simply put, who do you think will win the main event tonight? To vote Alexander Gustafsson, all you have to do is hit the hashtag Team Gus. For Anthony Johnson, use the hashtag Team Rumble. We'll have the results later in the show, and be sure to join the conversation blow by blow throughout the evening at UFC on Fox. All right, before we sit it down Octagon side, the rules of the Octagon brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. 3 judges will score the bout. Fight duration, 3 5-minute rounds, except in championship bouts and main events, where it will be 5 5-minute rounds scheduled. A 10-point must-scoring system is in effect. The round winner gets 10 points. His opponent, 9 or less, scoring based on effective striking, grappling, aggression, and octagon control. Time now to get it Octagon side and get the main party started. We send it down to Mike Goldberg and Joe Rogan. Take it away, fellas.
Kurt, DC, Brian, thank you very much. Joe, you and I have been blessed to have this job for a long time. We've had unique situations, 55,000 in Toronto, but tonight is once again very special.
Well, it's certainly an incredibly enthusiastic crowd, and as those guys said, Alexander Gustafsson is a hero in Stockholm, Sweden. That's great, but it's also a lot of pressure. It's fantastic the amount of support that he has, but he wants to make all these people happy, and it may be an added element that he has to deal with in this fight.
Only time will tell. We start at 145, though. Sam Sicilia, he was on season 15 of The Ultimate Fighter with his teammate who won, Michael Chiesa.
And he's fighting Akira Corsani, who's an excellent fighter as well from here. I mean, this is a really unique fight for Akira. It's a really unique fight for Sam. To be in this huge arena, 26,000 people, a lot of pressure, a lot of eyes on them, and an excellent matchup stylistically.
Yeah, Akira Corsani lived his first 27 years here in Sweden. He has also trained with former champion Frankie Edgar.
Akira Corassani and Sam Sicilia should be a slugfest.
And they're slugging it out.
Sam Sicilia is never in a boring fight. That dude bites down on his mouthpiece and throws. Oh, Sam caught him!
I've always had knockout power. Shut him off, pull the plug, and get out of there.
He has one of the nastiest right hands you will see in the featherweight division.
Akira Corassani has perhaps a more diverse game. He has very good submission defense. He's got a very good chin.
I know what I'm going to bring to the table. I'm going to bring tons of weapons that he's never seen before.
Corassani stalking his prey here.
If I got to stay on my offense, and that's how I win fights, I'm just going to bust him up on the ground, standing up, whatever.
This is my fight. I'm going to go in there, make it look easy.
Corassani landed a big one.
But that's it.
I'll break it here, and then he'll quit. My time is right now. I have to do it now.
We are set to get things started in the featherweight division as Akira Corassani battles Sam Sicilia right here on Fox. Fox UFC Fight Night is sponsored by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. By Metro PCS, nationwide 4G LTE riding on the T-Mobile network for $40 period. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
So tonight's Tale of the Tape is sponsored by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. Swedish favourite Akira Corassani is 4 years older at 32. And though the heights are the same, Corassani will outreach Sicilia by a marginal 1 inch. Now with the official announcements, it's over to our veteran voice of the Octagon, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from Stockholm, Sweden for Fox UFC Fight Night. And now, this fight is 3 rounds in the UFC featherweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, a freestyle fighter holding a professional record, 13 wins, 5 losses. He stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing in at 145 pounds. Fighting out of Spokane, Washington, USA, Sam Sicilia! And now introducing his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, an Akira fighter, holding a professional record, 14 wins, 6 losses. He stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing in at 145 pounds. Fighting out of Brooklyn, New York, by way of Lund, Sweden, Akira Corassani! And when the action begins, our referee in charge, Neil Hall.
So Neil Hall is the referee. The very beautiful Carly Baker, adding some glamour.
Yeah, guys, you ready? Let's go.
They're all set for 3 5-minute rounds in the featherweight division. Tonight's Fight Clock is sponsored by Kingsman, the Secret Service, in theatres, February 13th.
Been really excited for this one, John. Look at the speed that Akira Corassani's moving. Very elusive footwork, very Edgar-esque, training up the Henzy Gracie team in New York. You can see that that's really something that is integrated well into his game.
Both of these guys making the trip over from the States, so no distinct advantage in that preparation. The time differences and things of that nature, but nice hands there by Corassani as Sicilia closes the distance.
Yeah, Sicilia pushing forward as normal, looking for a trip. A couple of good shots on the inside and some good counters from Akira as Sicilia was stepping forward. Bit of jostling against the fence now, working for position. Some good clinch work, nice. Good break from Akira, back in the center of the octagon.
Both of these fighters, products of the Ultimate Fighter series.
A couple of good low kicks from Corassani there. Much more the mobile fighter of the two. As we were talking about before, Sicilia likes to close that distance with really winging punches. His best chance of keeping control of this fight is to keep his hands on Akira, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sicilia with serious knockout power. 5 of the last 6 wins by KO. He's also pretty decent with submissions. Actually calls his guillotine the ex-wife.
I did hear that, yeah. Yeah.
Puts the squeeze on and apparently takes
off your money. Yeah, brilliant. I wish I had a guillotine so I could use that line.
So good footwork on the outside by Khorassani.
Yeah, this is exactly what I expected from Akira. This is slowly going to wear Sicilia down if Akira can keep this up and keep out of danger. Just got to stay off his back with Sicilia in this first round because his ground and pound is vicious.
Good encouragement here in Stockholm. Yeah, for Khorassani. Taekwondo.
Sicilia doing a good job of pressuring, but not really putting himself in any danger so far. Seems to be waiting for Akira to step in and trying to counter him with some of those big looping shots that he likes to throw. Akira looking very agile, though.
Yeah, happy to work on the outside down and pick his moments.
Yeah.
Sicilia is going to try and show that or maintain his discipline.
Nice body movement from Akira, but again, still pressuring forward. Nothing seems to have troubled Sam Sicilia so far. Very confident in that right hand.
Sicilia's camp say that he's got lumberjack strength.
Lumberjack strength. I think that's the beard, though, that does that job. Ooh, good exchange there from both guys.
He's got Mark Chiesa in his corner this evening. Oh, that's a big uppercut. Akira Khorassani is completely out of it. Sam Sicilia with a brutal knockout finish here in Stockholm.
That was a huge right hand.
Well, that most definitely was on his travel itinerary. Fantastic highlight knockout for Sam Sicilia.
Perfectly timed. Caught Akira as he was circling. Very nice. Caught him right on the button. So let's have another look at this. Use that left hook to try and circle Akira towards that right hand. And there it is, just as Akira was circling off into space. Caught him right on the chin. No need for the second shot, but you've got to make sure the fight's over. Beautiful performance. Look at that full extension on that right hand. A lot of power in that. You can see why he invests so heavily in that weapon of his.
An eerie quiet has now settled in to the arena here in Stockholm as we just take a few moments to make sure that Khorassani is okay. He's back sitting up. But what a right hand Sam Sicilia possesses. That move of the fight was sponsored by Metro PCS. Nationwide 4G LTE riding on the T-Mobile network for $40 period. Let's get it back inside to Bruce Buffer, who will make it all official.
Presenting the reigning, defending UFC middleweight champion of the world, Rich Weidman. Introducing the champion, Ronda Rousey.
Here's Bruce with that decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Neil Hall has called a stop to this contest at 3 minutes, 26 seconds of the very first round. Declaring the winner by knockout, Sam Sicilia!
Congratulations to Sam Sicilia once again. Fantastic highlight reel knockout.
That's the thing about a coach is you hope that you can be as good as your players. In other words, you're getting as much out of your players what they give you. Then you win more.
Right.
But if you don't have good players, you're not going to win. You're not going to win big.
And tomorrow, live from Madison Square Garden, you will have the opportunity to watch Coach K win number 1,000. It's Duke, St. John's, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox. All right, let's move ahead. We know that our main event is in the light heavyweight division. So is our next fight, Joe. Phil Davis, Ryan Bader, both very highly decorated collegiate wrestlers. Gustafsson fights later. He wants to fight Jones again. DC's up here, Johnson's here, and Davis and Bader are set to go.
This, in my opinion, is the most exciting matchup in the entire division. I love this Anthony Johnson-Alexander Gustafsson fight, stylistically. First of all, because Gustafsson is the best in the division, in my opinion, with footwork. Best at moving, and one of the best at mixing things up, which was what the great thing that George St. Pierre did. Make you unaware of what he's going to do, make you guess. Anthony Rumble Johnson is the best knockout artist in the division. The best matador, the best bull.
Ryan Bader has won 3 straight. Phil Davis had 9 takedowns versus Glover Teixeira. He thinks the belt's in his future.
Being the champion, that's the ultimate goal. I don't care what it takes to get there. I just want to be the best.
I have a fire burning inside me to get that belt, and right now there's a guy standing in my way. I got to go out there and beat Phil Davis.
What this fight is all about is 2 hungry contenders that have massive potential and that have shown real growth and real progress inside the UFC.
Really? Oh, high kick by Davis. It rocked him.
I'm a better stand-up fighter. I'm the best grappler the UFC has ever seen in light heavyweight. I'm a tactician. I will choose the right move at the right time.
Phil Davis is an outstanding athlete. His speed, his physical strength are huge assets. But those are all assets that Ryan Bader also shares.
I want to go out there, put on a great fight. I'm going to put the pressure on Phil Davis, threaten to take down, and I want to put him away with a knockout.
I want to see who wants it more. I want to see who trains smarter. I want to see who has a better game plan, who has the better skill set, and who can put it all together on fight night.
I'm ready to make a statement that I'm the next guy who needs to fight for the title.
Phil Davis, the winner by submission.
I feel I'm one of the best. I just need to go out there and prove that. I want to be a champion. It's just knocking those guys out in front of me.
It's a battle of 2 men looking to make their way back up the light heavyweight ladder. When Phil Davis faces Ryan Bader, live from Stockholm on Fox.
So tonight's Tale of the Tape is sponsored by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. At 30 years old, Phil Davis is a year younger than his American counterpart, Ryan Bader. And despite the same height, Davis will bring a huge 5-inch reach advantage. With that, we send it back inside to Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this fight is 3 rounds in the UFC light heavyweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, a wrestler holding a professional record, 19 wins, 4 losses. He stands 62 inches tall, weighing in at 205 pounds. Fighting out of Tempe, Arizona, USA, he is the Ultimate Fighter, Season 8 winner, Ryan Bader! And now introducing his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, a wrestler holding a professional record, 13 wins, 2 losses, 1 no contest. He stands 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing in at 206 pounds. Fighting out of San Diego, California, USA, Phil, Mr. Wonderful Davis! And when the action begins, our referee in charge, Mark Goddard.
Mark Goddard shares the octagon with the 2 fighters. Christy Pearson signaling we are set for round 1 of 3 in the light heavyweight division.
Okay, gentlemen, here we go. You ready? You ready? Let's do it.
Tonight's fight clock is sponsored by Kingsman, the Secret Service, in theatres February 13th. So we have Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis in the pink shorts. Ryan Bader is wearing the grey with green.
Phil Davis at the moment just playing with the range of Ryan Bader. He keeps putting his head into range slightly and allowing Bader to take a shot and then slipping out of the way. I'm not sure whether he's trying to warm himself up or just try to emphasize to Bader the reach advantage that he has.
Well, Phil Davis looks quite wonderful against Glover Teixeira. That was a great performance. But Bader putting together a very, very tidy 3-fight win streak. I think it's amazing that this fight hasn't come about before, Dan.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a great matchup. I think it's going to be very evenly matched as well.
The light heavyweight picture is very exciting indeed, and there will sure to be some shake-ups in the rankings after tonight. Remember that they are released on Monday, 4:30 Eastern Time.
Always a nice short right hook from Bader there. Just stunned Phil Davis for a second.
Analysing the stats around these two guys, specifically the striking, they're very similar. Bader is more accurate, but Davis is busier. He also works to the body quite a bit more.
That was interesting. Phil Davis pushed for a takedown there, and Ryan Bader defended it.
Well, it's not the first time that Davis and Bader have put hands on one another. They actually met once in a wrestling contest. It was about 10 years ago. I think the media have made quite a bit of it, but Bader said if he wins tonight, it'll be a nice, a nice cherry on top of things. But they have obviously met eyes across a competitive platform before.
And when you get into the top 10 as well, you know all the guys in that division very, very well. That was a beautiful overhand right. Good opportunity. Nice lead uppercut there as well from Phil Davis as Bader was stepping in with that kick.
Both of these guys very, very hard workers indeed. Bader now very much established that Power MMA gym with his colleagues CB Dollaway and Aaron Simpson, who's here with him in his corner. About 3 years old now. When they were trying to get it off the ground, his performances were being affected by that. They never really had a fixed location. But everything is set. His personal affairs and business are all there and ready for him to really make a charge on that top 5.
Good low kick there from Phil Davis. You can already see the confidence in Ryan Bader's striking. We've seen him earlier on in his career be a little bit timid on the feet, but he really seems to be settling in and becoming the well-rounded mixed martial artist that he's going to need to be to crack that top 5. He's got good defense. He's being caught with a couple of glancing shots, but nothing's affecting him so far.
Huge reach advantage for Phil Davis. Quite flat-footed, but I guess he has that ability. He's got that split second because of the advantage in the reach.
Yeah.
Superb movement as well.
Yeah, he does really widen his stance and lower his level a lot of the time. I'm not sure whether he's expecting Bader to try and shoot a double or something, but he certainly seems prepared with his takedown defense.
Well, we know that Bader won't run out of gas. Both of these athletes superbly conditioned.
Yeah. I've got to mention the fact that Phil Davis's legs look like the posts of the octagon right now. He's got the thickest legs I've ever seen. I would not like to get kicked by that. In fact, that was something that Luke Barnett was talking about. Caught him with a couple of jabs, and then Phil Davis followed up with a low kick, nearly took him off his legs. Quite tentative from both guys. Obviously, a lot of respect. There's another takedown attempt there from Phil Davis. Perhaps not even really trying to actually get this fight to the floor, possibly trying to use it to create openings for his strikes, for that overhand right, which he threw a second time
some
there.
Decoys.
Yeah. We always like
slapping right hand.
Yeah. Always like a good smoke screen. Something to confuse your opponent. As athletic as Phil Davis is when he does get his hands on you, when he's in the striking range, he's not the quickest of guys in this division. He does have long sweeping combinations when he throws his hands, but they're not as snappy as a lot of the light heavyweights in this division. But he does have consistency in his striking ability. He does keep going, consistently throughout the round. He likes to slowly mount the pressure and to keep increasing that volume. Let's see what the cornermen have got to say.
Not much going on in that round. You landed that good 2-step in 3. Round could have gone either way. All right. He's staying right outside your range. We got to use that kick, but I can't have you go slow with it. That makes sense? Two left body to cut him off, or two left high to cut him off. If he's just standing there, go with the outside. Just move your head off the center line. 1-2s down the middle, 1-2 step in 3s are there. He's sitting, then he's looking for that overhand right.
A lot of head movement. Back him up with that jab and finish that right hand. You'll suck it. You'll get him. You'll get him. Great defense on those shots. He got nothing for you on those shots. Even round. We don't know where that round is. Let's go get him, stud.
So Fox UFC Fight Night is sponsored by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. And we are all set for round number 2.
Aaron Simpson in Bader's corner asking for a little bit more head movement. It seems that both corner teams are onto the same thing. They've both spotted that Bader's looking for that right hand, that overhand right, and Davis is now aware of it from his corner's suggestions. But let's see if Ryan Bader can make that work for him with a bit more head movement.
He's also looking to double up on the jab, work his way in. But a really efficient performance by Phil Davis. His movement and the way that he cuts the angles is very, very clever. Bader is having to work an awful lot harder on the outside. Happy to do so, and that's his style. But it's actually quite a different style for two guys that come with quite a similar CV.
Definitely. Nice takedown defense there from Bader. That was a fully invested takedown from Phil Davis there, and didn't manage to get it finished, and didn't manage to get Bader to the floor. That's got to be playing on his mind a little bit, because I'm pretty sure he came into this feeling like he was the stronger wrestler of the two. Very difficult to wrestle against a guy that's trying not to wrestle, though.
Well, Bader actually seeks the takedown more frequently, so statistically more offensive. Nice elbow on the exit. It's really good to see fighters using those moments on an exit to actually put something offensive together.
Oh, there's a beautiful head kick from Phil Davis there.
He really switched the weight in his body to go up top with that. Both of these fighters very rugged indeed. Super difficult to put away.
Yeah, Phil Davis has good head movement. He's being quite elusive right now, but he's not really taking the fight to Bader, which surprises me. I was expecting him to have a little bit more of a grappling heavy game plan here, but obviously, you know, he's shot a couple of times, he's been unsuccessful. Looks like he's going to have to switch to a plan B, which may be the striking game.
Even the Alliance corner saying that not a lot really happened.
I don't know what it is about Phil Davis, but I just want to see him just get angry for a second and just take it to his opponent. I feel like if he really attacked somebody, it could be a very dangerous finisher. I think maybe those pink shorts are blocking his reptile, John. I'm not sure, but he seems to play the game very well. He plays the sport very well. He racks up his points, but there's not a desire to really attack his opponent and really take the fight to them. Much more of a technician, much more of an athlete, in my opinion, than a fighter, which is not necessarily a bad thing. GSP made a wonderful career out of being a very, very highly skilled and well-trained athlete. Sometimes you need that little bit of venom in your shots, though, to put people away.
Sure.
You can clearly see how strong he is when he's got a body lock on Bader. He is able to move him around to a certain extent. Bader looking for a single leg. Good work. Good work by both guys.
Davis in on a hit. Judo toss in from Bader, but he lands in a precarious position, and now Davis in a slightly more advantageous spot.
Yeah, this is where we see Davis really start to work well. He's very good at hip riding and weighing on his opponents and slowing them down. You'll see him constantly tying up one of his opponent's legs, so he's always leg riding, always staying heavy on his opponent, making them carry his weight. As you can see now, he's sagging his weight onto Ryan Bader. Bader doing a good job standing up here, though. Got to get that leg clear. Looking for a single leg. see if he can turn the tables on Phil Davis.
Oh, very nicely done there by Ryan Bader to get back to his feet. Didn't endure any significant damage there. This guy's just very well skilled indeed.
Nice knee from Phil Davis there, just unable to really utilize his body lock to its fullest extent. Another difficult round to score, John.
Yeah, this is a very tight contest, and we always knew it would be.
Yeah. Someone's got to come and take it in the third round, though.
Signals the last 10 seconds. Phil Davis closing out the round with a little bit more control than Ryan Bader.
He's just surviving. He's just surviving. He's still playing the outside. I need you to try to sneak in those right high kicks or a left body kick, but I need you to lead it with the right hand. Does that make sense? Deep breath. Every time you go under, it's there. I need you to apply 1, 2, under 3. Make sense? Deep breath. He's gonna come desperate. We need this round no matter what. We need this round. Deep breath.
Understood.
Hey, 5 minutes hard here. 5 minutes. Put it on the line right now. Don't save anything. Let it go. Let it go. You bend your knees, low stance, strike with him. Let's go, stud. Let's get him. Let's get him.
Third and final round here in Stockholm. And it is all to play for in the light heavyweight division.
It certainly is. Aaron Simpson.
Huge ramifications here, Dan, as well.
Big fight for the light heavyweight division. Aaron Simpson in the corner of Ryan Bader, asking him for a slightly lower stance and asking him to stand and trade. Let's strike with him. I'd like to see that. A little bit more light, a little bit lighter on his feet, a bit better movement. I'd like to see some pressure from Ryan Bader here because Phil Davis is coasting right now, and I'd like to see him under a bit of pressure to really see what these guys are both made of.
And now that Bader's hand is healed, or so he tells me, it would be good to see him really throw it with some serious intention.
And he did talk about, you know, earlier on before the fight got started, he was talking about how he'd studied the fight with Phil Davis and Anthony Johnson, and he was going to try and replicate that in some way, try and put that kind of pressure on him. Obviously, very difficult to replicate the pressure that Anthony Johnson can put on someone, but you can see the kind of game plan that he was going for this one. Try and keep it standing, try and keep Phil Davis on the feet, frustrate him a little bit, and then pick him off as he was coming in.
Eric Del Fiero was really insistent that Phil Davis nick this round. We'll probably need to do more than just nick it, actually, really put an impression on it.
Yeah, it's all to play for right now. One of these guys has really got to take control of this round.
Own the moment is the message from both corners. Stockholm, Sweden, before more than 26,000 fans. A huge event, massive implications. 3 minutes and 20 to go get that W, and that's a big right hand from Davis.
Oh, another takedown attempt from Phil Davis, defended by Ryan Bader. That is a real statement. Could Bader possibly be looking for some kind of front choke here? He's certainly weighing heavy on Phil Davis's shoulders. So whatever movement Phil Davis is going to make now, he's going to have to take Ryan Bader with him. Good pressure, good knee to the body there. Good work by Ryan Bader. Yeah.
Suddenly the right eye of Phil Davis has got a very quick swelling.
Oh, and another takedown stopped. It's going to build Bader's confidence. This is starting to look very good for Ryan Bader now. Some swelling on the right eye of Phil Davis is going to cause him some sight problems, I'm sure.
Yeah, he looks slightly troubled with that. He's blinking heavily on the right side.
And again, pushing for the takedown, pushing for the clinch. Great cornering from Aaron Simpson as well. It's really nice to sit in the commentary booth and be able to listen to these coaches working with their fighters. especially when you've got a coach that's already been in there themselves. Obviously, Aaron Simpson, a UFC veteran, he knows what it's like to be in there and to feel these last few minutes slip away, and the urgency that you need to attack your opponent and really put it on them. And it's very frustrating to sit outside and watch your fighter kind of, you know, take his time. It feels like time's passing so slowly in the octagon, but it's ticking away very, very quickly right now. And although Ryan Bader's having a good round so far, neither fighter are really making a statement to take this from the judges.
Urgency, the order of the day. A cliche not to leave it in the judges' hands.
Yeah, Phil Davison looking a little bit timid now in the striking game. He's really not investing. We did see this a little bit in the Anthony Johnson fight after he'd been cracked a couple of times. That was a nice right hand, though.
Well, and followed up with a kick as well.
Bader looked not bothered at all by it.
That's a much bigger kick from Phil Davis.
Something that, that hurt Ryan Bader. Yeah, another good look, and another one. Last minute. If that low kick's hurting, that might bring Bader's hands down if he can land a couple more solid kicks to that outside thigh.
Body kick on the other side from Davis. So the kick's starting to work for Phil Davis. Bader still pressing forward, though, as we enter the last 30 seconds of this contest. Davis going high. Time to take some risks.
Who's going to shoot? There we go, Phil Davis. Good defense from Ryan Bader, lands on top, takes the back of Phil Davis.
Hand off the fence, hand off the fence.
Last 10 seconds.
Phil Davis looking for it. Beautiful takedown from Ryan Bader to close the third round.
Very nice stuff. Kind of got one back a little bit from that time on the wrestling mat.
It's a beautiful takedown. I'd like to see that one again.
Well, that contest is over and does indeed go to the judges. Some swelling there on the eye of Phil Davis. Ryan Bader really did come to push the pace. He couldn't really get an awful lot going with his striking combinations, but you could say just before.
Very frustrating, John.
So UFC Fight Night is sponsored by America's Navy. And now it's time to get it inside for the official decision. And Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for decision. The judges score the contest 29-28, Bader, 29-28, Davis, and 29-28 for the winner by split decision, Ryan Bader.
Ryan Bader nicks it by split decision. He beats his old foe, Phil Davis, and goes over to congratulate him on a good contest. He worked hard for that. So, most wins in modern UFC light heavyweight history, and Ryan Bader right up the top there behind Jones, Evans, and Liddell Dan.
Yeah, he's in great company. He's in great company there.
So the move of the fight is sponsored by Metro PCS nationwide 4G LTE, riding on the T-Mobile network for $40 period.
Nice sharp jab there from Ryan Bader. And this was a beautiful takedown that finished the third round. Good takedown there from Phil Davis. Tried to roll and create a scramble out of it and did end up in top position, but it was a beautiful takedown from Ryan Bader late on in the round. Just showed how much he wanted that decision, John.
Yeah, he'll go back to his 3 young children as a victor. Right, so what a great contest we've got at the top of the bill.
Anthony has good power. It's going to be explosive from the first round to the 5th round. One of the hardest fights in my career, and it's one of these fights I need to win.
Alex can definitely take some damage. John Jones kicked him in the head a couple of times and he kept it moving. Elbowed him a couple of times, he kept it moving. You face a guy like that, that's a scary man. When I hit him, I'm gonna have to try and punch his life out of him, you know what I mean?
Nobody in my division has what I have. I know I'll win the fight. My style is Anthony Johnson's kryptonite.
Soon find out, Joe. Alexander Gustafsson, Anthony Rumble Johnson.
It's a sensational matchup. It's my favorite matchup of the year. I am really excited to see what happens. I have no idea who's going to be able to impose their skills.
Much like we saw a moment ago, very close fight, very close voting on Twitter. 55% for the Swede, 45% for the American. And don't forget, continue to vote on Twitter. You can do so by going to Anthony Johnson, Alexander Gustafsson. If you like Gus, it's hashtag Team Gus or hashtag Team Rumble. When we return live here in Sweden, we will talk about the return of the greatest of all time.
Despite all my rage, I'm still just riding a cage. Someone who says what is lost is never said. Despite all my rage, I'm still just riding a cage.
One week from tonight, 10 in the East, 7 in the West, live on pay-per-view from the MGM Grand Garden Arena, the biggest fight of Nick Diaz's career, as he will be the headliner at UFC 183 when he fights Anderson Silva. And yes, fans, the Spider is back. Public enemy number one, it's Nick Diaz.
He has talked a tremendous amount of trash.
Nick Diaz talks so much trash. He's so aggressive and disrespectful to his opponents inside the octagon.
Where are you at? I want that.
I think I can beat you. That's what I think.
Don't be scared, homie.
Nick Diaz has the kind of trash talking that makes you rethink your life. And make no mistake about it, he backs up that act with elite skills. At his best, he is a smothering opponent. He's got outstanding hands, and he's got a very difficult style to prepare for. But you want to talk about the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the history of the sport. One man comes to mind. That's Anderson Silva.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, my God!
Anderson Silva!
He's the best.
The greatest of all time.
Anderson Silva is in a class of his own. He really is unquestionably the greatest fighter the sport has ever seen. However, he's coming off 2 losses, and he got his leg broken in a freak accident. We don't know what Anderson Silva's mindset is going to be like when he steps into the octagon. That's what makes this fight with Nick Diaz so intriguing. And it's a very important fight, because if Anderson Silva shows the championship form that he had when he was dominating great fighters, people are going to want to see another fight with Chris Weidman. This is an absolutely amazing matchup. And I have a feeling that when that door shuts, the referee looks at Anderson and looks at Nick Diaz. That's going to be an intense fight for the ages.
Joe, Conor McGregor, Stockholm, Sweden, and next up is this.
I can't wait for this fight. Anderson Silva, first of all, the greatest fighter of all time, coming off of 2 losses in a row. First time ever in his UFC career. There's so many questions. There's so much anticipation of his return. Then you add in Nick Diaz. So many people have been asking, when is Nick Diaz fighting again? Nick has just been waiting for a high-profile opponent. UFC said, how about Anderson Silva? He said,
pretty high profile.
That's as high profile as it gets. He said, let's do it. And Nick has a lot of success against high-level strikers, particularly Paul Daly, which was an outstanding fight that he fought for the Strikeforce welterweight title.
Middleweight champion Anderson Silva, the former middleweight champion, the longest reigning, will fight next week. Speaking of middleweights, Dan Hendo Henderson back at 185 for the first time in almost 5 years. That big H-bomb is always the X factor.
You know, well, he's as experienced as it gets. He's one of the all-time greats. He was the first guy to ever hold 2 titles consecutively in Pride, and still dangerous. He's knocked out Shogun recently with 1 punch. Gegard Mousasi has to be cognizant of that. He has to be aware of that right hand. He has to be aware of those wrestling skills as well. But Mousasi is a very talented fighter who I think has not shown shown his full potential yet in the octagon. We've seen flashes of brilliance from him. The Mark Munoz fight is an excellent example of that. Held his own with Lyoto Machida, lost a decision, but went the full distance with him in an excellent fight. I think this is an excellent opportunity for Dan Henderson to show he's still at the top of the heap, one of the best in the world still. And for Mousasi, it's an opportunity to fight an all-time great.
Look at this, 65 combined mixed martial arts victories for Gegard Mousasi, who also has fought at 205. Hendo weighed in against Daniel Cormier, Joe, at 199. So he knew the best route to get back to the top would be to fight as a middleweight. Once again, it's a spectacular matchup. Gegard Mousasi, Hendo, Dan Henderson, here live in front of nearly 30,000.
Can you erect an MMA Mount Rushmore without Dan Hendo Henderson?
Dan Henderson is a real legend. Former Pride 2 division champion. Former Strikeforce champion. Dan Henderson is a world-class, top of the food chain fighter.
I think the only thing in the sport that I haven't accomplished is that UFC belt.
Big shots!
That belt is close enough to grab, but obviously I got to go through Gegard to get to it.
Gegard Mousasi is an incredibly talented fighter.
Gegard Mousasi delivering shots!
He has outstanding kickboxing techniques. He has a very good ground game. Gegard Mousasi is one of the best guys at 185 pounds in the world.
I know I can beat anyone in the middleweight division. Fighting a guy like Dan Henderson, he's a legend. Win over him would mean a lot to me.
Henderson again trying to tee off.
Dan Henderson still has the utmost confidence that with one punch, he can shut the fight down.
I definitely have more power than he does. Hopefully I can land that right hand, that left hook, beat the crap out of him.
And a guy like Gegard Mousasi, when he faces a guy like Dan Henderson, you can guarantee he will be at his best.
This fight is more about beating him up, dominating him, try to knock him out.
The tougher the fight, the bigger the challenge. That's what motivates me.
Our co-main event is a clash of former champions as Dan Henderson battles Gegard Mousasi live from Stockholm, Sweden, right here on Fox.
It's a huge deal for him, and he's really going to bring the best of both these guys out.
Tonight's State of the Tape is sponsored by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. We can see that the Netherlands' Mousasi is significantly younger than the legend Henderson. He also is 3 inches taller, giving him a 2-inch reach advantage. Let's hand it over to the Octagon for the introduction. Here's Bruce.
Once again, here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the co-main event of the evening. This fight is 3 rounds in the UFC middleweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, on mixed martial artist, holding professional record, 35 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws. He stands 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing in at 185 pounds. Fighting out of the line of the Netherlands, he is the former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion, Gegard. And now introducing his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, a mixed martial artist holding professional record, 30 wins, 12 losses. He stands 5 feet 11 inches tall, weighing in at 185 pounds. Fighting out of Temecula, California, USA, he is the former Pride welterweight and middleweight champion and the former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion, Dan Henderson. And when the action begins, our referee in charge, Leon Roberts.
Leon Roberts, our referee
Leon
for
Roberts
our
is the third man in the octagon.
Harley Baker, Christy Pearson, here tonight in Stockholm. Dan Henderson,
We are headed for 3
Gegard Mousasi,
5-minute rounds
and
in the
here
middleweight
we go.
division.
Tonight's fight clock
So
is
tonight's
sponsored by
fight clock
Kingsman,
is sponsored by
the Secret
Kingsman,
Service,
the Secret Service, in theatres, February 13th. And if they needed an introduction, Dan Henderson is in the white with red.
And then the big right
Gegard Mousasi is in the grey with blue.
Yep.
Dan Henderson will be wearing the shorts that have his name on them. Worth noting. Interesting that Mousasi came straight out and started to pressure Henderson with jabs. Often we see Mousasi take his time and kind of feel his opponent out, but, you know, maybe given the fact that he's been watching Dan Henderson for years, just like the rest of us, he knows Dan Henderson's fighting style so well that he feels like he can pressure him from the offset. And he's landed a couple of good shots so far. Just got to watch that H-spot. If that right hand of Dan Henderson lands on your chin.
If that detonates, you're in trouble. Not sure what the issue was there. But Mousasi backed off the attention of Leon Roberts.
I see something unusual with Dan Henderson's eye. I don't know what else to say about it right now, but the left eye of Dan Henderson is looking quite unusual. And he's bounced. Oh, he's dead!
Mousasi jumps all over him. It's over. This contest is done. Gegard Mousasi dispatches the legend in the very first round.
Wow. Got to see that again. That was a clean punch. Henderson was clearly hurt when he hit the canvas.
Let's look at it. Had no idea it was over when it was
Unbelievable scenes here. Henderson disputing that stoppage. But Gegard Mousasi saw it very closely. So
let's have another look. Oh, it was a right hand, a glancing right hand across the top of Hendo. Went to the canvas.
Added to the power.
And Mousasi for a second just paused to look for the right shot.
You know, it's hard to tell you. It looks like they could have let it go, but let's take a look at it one more time. Crowd does from another angle. Let's see it. Boom. He goes down.
He's grabbing the leg.
You know, I'm a fan of letting guys work out of bad situations. I always point to the Frankie Edgar Gray Maynard fight where Frankie was in all sorts of trouble, came back to win that fight. A guy like Dan Henderson has proven to be durable, especially his last fight with the fight with Shogun, where Shogun had him all but out, and then he came back and won that fight by knockout. It's very unfortunate when you see what could be a controversial stoppage like this. You know, I would like to have seen it gone on.
Co-main event is in the books, and don't forget, fans, tweet and let us know what you believe will be the best move of the night. Hashtag MetroMove, and tune in to the UFC Fight Night post-fight show on Fox Sports 2 for the winning move. Mousasi, the winner, quickly.
UFC Fight Night is sponsored by Game of War.
We'll see him back again.
Play free now.
Quite like having multiple commentary teams work at the same time, John. We can share information.
It's a team effort. Well, it's time to send it back inside to Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Leon Roberts has called a stop to this contest at 1 minute, 10 seconds of the very first round. Declaring the winner by TKO, Gegard Mousasi.
All official, Gegard Mousasi, winner by TKO. He's with Joe.
I'm here with the winner, Gegard Mousasi. First of all, Gegard, congratulations. It's a huge win over a real legend. There was a moment before the stoppage where you pointed to the referee, pointed to Dan. There was something going on with his eye. What exactly was it?
Well, I think I cut him in the eye. There was blood all over his eye, and you know, it's a combat sport, but we have to be healthy.
You were concerned.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for Dan. We trained even before. He's a legend, and we want to continue fighting. So if he's injured, it's better to be stopped.
Okay, let's take a look at the actual stoppage. You caught him with a clean right hand on the temple as he was coming in, right here. You heard him. He went down. When you swarmed on him, were you surprised right here? I mean, he fell back. Were you surprised the referee stopped the fight there?
Well, I could have landed a good shot, but I stopped because I thought he was already out. Here, I could hit him, but I didn't. But I thought, okay, maybe I should, because otherwise the referee won't stop it.
This was a huge fight for you, a huge name. What happens here, and what would you like to accomplish next?
Well, if I'm ready, I can beat anyone, and well, whoever is next, I'm ready.
Controversy aside, congratulations. It was an excellent performance. Gegard Mousasi, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm here with Dan Henderson. Dan, give us your thoughts on what happened, and give us your thoughts. Everybody loves you. Give us your thoughts on the injury that he was pointing to. I can't really see it right now. It was, okay, there's something going on, but I don't see a cut. It looks like it's just a little swelling.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't Gegard's fight, guys, so it wasn't his fault, but he fought a good fight. I got hit with like a jab or something, and I couldn't see very well out of my left eye, and and then he started pointing at it, so I thought maybe it would be bad. I kind of started pressuring him, and he clipped me a little bit, but I was aware the whole time, and it's just unfortunate that it had to get stopped. I felt like I needed to pressure it because it could have been, I couldn't see very well at all out of my left eye.
Let's take a look at the stoppage. And it seems like you got hit with one punch, you went down, but then it seems more like you tripped and fell, and that's when the referee came in and stopped it. Let's take a look at it one more time here. You're coming forward, you get clipped with the right hand, it's on the temple, you see it right here. Here's the punch, and then there was a stumble and you fell back, but there wasn't a punch that landed, and that's when he came in to stop the fight. Does this surprise you when you're watching this?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised when it happened. I mean, I looked right up. But, it's not Gegard's fault. Sometimes it happens, but, I was aware the whole time, and I was pressuring him quite a bit because, I couldn't see out of my eye, and Gegard was pointing at it, so I figured I didn't want the ref to stop the fight because of my eye, so I pressured him quite a bit.
Well, I'm sorry it went down this way, but we look forward to seeing you back again. I'm sure you'll be fighting one more time, without a doubt. Thank you very much. Dan Henderson, ladies and gentlemen.
What a great reception for one of the greatest of all time. The only man to hold two belts at the same time in Pride, the middleweight and light heavyweight champion, the two-time Olympian Dan Henderson, here in Stockholm tonight in this great arena that holds 30,000, and most of them are big fans of not this man, Anthony Rumble Johnson, but his opponent. Rumble said, this will be the toughest fight of my life, but I have the tools to win the title. And Sweden loves their #1 fighting son, Alexander Gustafsson, one of mixed martial arts' best finishers, said, and I quote, "I'm faster, I'm better, I'm quicker, I will win." Our main event is still ahead from beautiful Stockholm, Sweden. It's late here, but we're ready to go with the main event of the evening. When we return, we check back in with Kurt Menefee, Daniel Cormier, and Brian Stan. This is the UFC on Fox.
It's approaching 3:30 in the morning here in Stockholm as we come to you live, which means we're minutes away from the Mauler and Rumble stepping inside the octagon for Fox UFC Fight Night, which is sponsored by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. Back at the desk here at the Tele2 Arena, Kurt Menefee along with Brian Stan and Daniel Cormier. And before we get to the main event, DC, we saw the legendary Dan Henderson go down very quickly, whether you agree with the stoppage or not, here in the first round. You choked him out 2 fights ago for you back in May of last year. Has it gotten to be the time at the age of 44 that he should call it quits?
I'm not a guy that likes to tell people when it's time to go, but Dan Henderson went from never being finished to 2 in a row like that. As a fan and as a friend of Dan, I would like to see him step away or at least take a break and be away for a little while before getting back inside of the octagon.
Look, I just don't see anything else he has left to accomplish in his career. He's going to go down as one of the greatest fighters of all time. He maybe never did win that UFC gold. He's won belts in every other promotion he's fought for. He is an absolute legend. And at 44, is it really realistic for him to make another title run? I don't think so. Immediately put him in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it, but I don't want to see him fight anymore.
And give him a job like Chuck Liddell and the rest of those guys.
Certainly,
he's been that important to the UFC.
He has been, but didn't sound like a guy who was ready to call it quits. We will find out, obviously, as the future unfolds for Henderson. Now, our immediate future, our main event, 2 of the top 3 guys in the light heavyweight division will fight. The winner will get to meet the champion, John Jones, as this is a title eliminator. And so let's break down the fight by heading inside our Fox strike zone. Daniel Cormier, why don't you start with the 16-2 Gustafsson?
All right, when we talk about Alexander Gustafsson, he's a striker. We all know that. But Alexander Gustafsson is one of those strikers that knows how to use his length, and he uses all of his tools. He doesn't just box. He doesn't just kickbox. He uses knees. He uses punches. And when he gets a guy hurt, as you see with Jimmy Manuwa, he gets after you. He has great killer instinct. When he has a person hurt, they don't normally get away from Alexander Gustafsson. He doesn't waste energy. He's not just punching the punch. He's trying to find a way to get to the finish, the shortest route to the finish. Key number one, he needs to use his reach. Stick that long jab to the body on Rumble Johnson. Use front kicks. Second key is going to be to use his footwork. He cannot get trapped against Rumble Johnson. That's where Anthony will have his most success. Punch, and before Anthony can return, be out of the way. His third key will be to push the pace. For as good as Rumble Johnson has been, he hasn't shared the cage with the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world in John Jones for 5 rounds. Alexander Gustafsson did that, and he did very well.
Well, let's talk about Anthony Johnson, the most powerful man in the light heavyweight division. He has an absolute vicious left high kick, but anything he hits you with can knock you out. 4 sub-1 minute knockouts, most in UFC history. This guy is a tremendous athlete. 85% takedown defense. He's a junior college wrestling national champion. We're showing a lot of takedown defense here, but he can also take you down. So don't be surprised if he mixes in some takedowns with his big, heavy punches and kicks against Gustafsson. First key, throw leg kicks. That will slow down the movement and attrit the legs of Alexander over the course of a 5-round fight. He has got some heavy shin bones. Second key, cut off the octagon. Gustafsson's going to try and be a ghost in there. He's got to force Gustafsson to stand toe-to-toe with him. He could do that by not chasing Alexander, but cutting him off, getting to where he's going to be, not where he is right now. Third key, throw combinations. A lot of power punchers fall in love with their one-shot knockout power, but you really set up the home run by throwing a few out there first and creating openings with your setup strikes. Anthony needs to do that if he wants to win by knockout tonight.
I can't wait for your predictions, because earlier this week on UFC Fight Night, or excuse me, the fight show on Tuesday, he took Gustafsson. Yesterday during the weigh-ins, he took Johnson, so I'm going to give him some time to figure out who he wants. You go first, Brian.
I'm going to go with Alexander Gustafsson. The experience he has in these big-time fights, going 5 rounds, and the arsenal of weapons he has. I just think he's a brilliant mixed martial artist. He's got too many tools tonight.
And Kurt, that's why you're the best. Thanks for teeing me up and giving me a way to explain this. First off, I watched these guys, and I thought Alexander's style is just going to be too much for Anthony. Then I watched Anthony look him directly in the face yesterday, composed, and went back and watched him fight Phil Davis and saw that Alexander might be right. He may have the style to beat Rumble Johnson. So I'm flip-flopping. This morning I woke up and said, through it all, as good as Rumble has looked, he does not have what it takes to beat Alexander Gustafsson. That's how I got back to the Alexander Gustafsson pick that I'm giving you right now.
Until this fight is over and we'll find out who wins, and then you pick the winner. That's what you're going to stick with.
Like my 2 teams in the Super Bowl right now.
Same way when he goes out to eat. He wants this, he wants that, annoys the waiters.
Well, these guys are unanimous in who they think will win. You guys are split at home in our Twitter poll question. Just over a half are taking the #1 contender, Alexander Gustafsson, to win here in front of his home folks and earn that title rematch against John Jones. All right, guys, all the time for talk is over. The 2 fighters are making their walk to the octagon, which means Mike Goldberg and Joe Rogan, they're ready to make the call. Time now for our main event, brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the only motorcycle worthy of being in the octagon. Guys?
Kirk, thank you very much. You heard Stan, Daniel Cormier. They both said Gustafsson. But Anthony Rumble Johnson returned to the UFC after about 2 years away, returned at 205, dominated Phil Davis, and then destroyed Little Nog.
That's why I hate predictions. I never give predictions. I don't believe in them. I believe in watching these 2 great fighters fight. Stylistically, this is a fantastic matchup to me. I think Rumble Johnson presents some very unique challenges to anybody in the division because of his brutal power. Yeah. But when you look at Alexander Gustafsson, he has some very unique skills as well. His footwork is outstanding. His reach and his ability to use that reach are excellent as well. I think Gustafsson has got to get Rumble's respect. Rumble has a very good chin as well as big power. I think he's got to sting him. and I think he's got to utilize those moves and keep away from the big power. And for Rumble Johnson, he has got to get a hold of Alexander and put that power to him. Whether or not he can catch up to that footwork, that's two of the questions that we're going to see answered very shortly.
Well, I think we're going to see Rumble come out very strong, very hard. Gustafsson feels he's better in every area, and he wants his rematch.
It's my moment to shine. I need to win. It'll be my fans on the stage. You know, I got all the pressure on my shoulders, and who win the fight gets the shot of the title, and I need to deliver.
Alexander Gustafsson gave John Jones the most difficult test of his career.
Good right hand by Gustafsson. John Jones may be losing this fight.
I don't have time to think about what happened, what could happen. What could I have, what could I not have? Right now it's just Anthony Johnson, nothing else.
Anthony Rumble Johnson!
Anthony Rumble Johnson might be the scariest guy in the UFC today.
18 months and he's in trouble early. Just like that!
People know me for knocking people out.
It's in trouble.
Honestly, I have the tools to win the title. I think I have the tools to beat anybody. Beating Alex in Stockholm would be pretty exciting for me because it's in his hometown, his backyard.
Oh my goodness! Rumble is a machine right now!
I plan on going out there and giving it my all. My hand will be raised. I'm ready to give Stockholm one of the best fights they've ever seen.
Shot! Trying to finish this fight is the Mauler!
I like having the pressure on my shoulder. It makes me better. My style is Anthony Johnson's kryptonite. At the end of the day, it'll be my arm in there, not his. It's gonna be explosive. It's gonna be fight of the year.
Anthony Rumble Johnson started out his sporting life as a wrestling standout who has navigated his way through many ups and downs. His competitive spirit and desire for improvement has seen him notch up an impressive record and an even more impressive Hollywood-esque showreel of fight finishes. The light heavyweight version of Anthony Johnson has been sensational. Running an 8-fight win streak, Johnson, under the watchful eye of Coach Henry Hooft at the Black Zillions, has been able to focus on technique rather than just cutting weight. And the results they have produced and the style points they have earned are very enviable to anyone else on a mixed martial arts roster.
It's a very good point. He seems to have really found a good home at the Black Zillions. It's only been a matter of time before Anthony Johnson finds the right place for his training camps to take place, and I think all the way through his career he's been looking for that one coach that can really take control of everything and build him into the fighter that he has the raw ability and raw potential to become. To be honest, John, I'll just be glad when I'm not on somebody else's highlight reel as we're commentating the fights, because I'm sick of seeing myself getting kicked in the head.
Sorry about that, Dan.
That's all right.
Means you're still relevant, though.
I guess, or irrelevant, I guess.
For this camp, Anthony Johnson has been working on small adjustments and basic things in terms of sparring. I mean, they got one hell of a stable down there at Black Zillions in Florida, but they specifically brought in a gentleman called Colin George, a 6'8" Dutch kickboxer. He has been trying to emulate the kind of striking assaults that you might associate with Alexander Gustafsson. So they've been doing everything that they can in those areas. But Anthony Johnson is going to try and impose his will, and that serious knockout power.
Yeah, it's a great idea to bring in a tall, lengthy sparring partner for him, because you got to think every shot that he lands on that 6'8" opponent is going to build his confidence. And when you're fighting a guy like Alexander Gustafsson, who is going to have a slight reach advantage, every bit of confidence is necessary to land those knockout punches.
Alexander "the Mauler" Gustafsson has had a tough couple of years, both personally and then not getting the decision from that fight with Jones. He has returned from a knee injury that cost him a rematch with John Jones and worked diligently on all aspects of his game. Conveniently, having Phil Davis on the card meant that he had a perfect sparring partner over in San Diego. And in fact, he stayed there right up to fight week. He sounds like a very, very motivated Alexander Gustafsson. I mean, he's had that opportunity at Jones, it's been taken away from him. And then Anthony Johnson makes a real name for himself. He gives him that opportunity, a sporting, classy opportunity, if you like. He might have wanted to wait it out, but he didn't. He's going to take on this dangerous man in his hometown in front of nearly 30,000 Swedish fans.
That's a huge risk with a guy as powerful as Anthony Johnson. He possesses some of the scariest knockout power the UFC's ever seen. But Gustafsson has been preparing at a fantastic training camp. Obviously got Phil Davis in his training camp as well, who knows Anthony Johnson very well from inside the octagon. So he's got a good base of guys around him, a good team of people that have gathered around him, and obviously this 26,000 strong fan support live, as well as countless people watching at home. He's going to be feeding off this kind of energy, and as long as he can stay away from the heavy hands of Anthony Johnson, it should be a really good night for him.
Legendary performance against Jones, showing us his footwork, creative striking, and also, very importantly, his wrestling. It was a high-paced 5-round fight. Swedish sporting icon Gustafsson is the younger fighter, but he is taller than the American Johnson by 3 inches and has a slim 1-inch reach advantage. With the main event introductions, here's the veteran voice of the octagon, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Sanctioned by the Swedish Mixed Martial Arts Commission. Our 3 judges scoring this contest in octagon side are Mark Collette, Jesper Gunnarsson, and Andy Roberts. When the action begins, our referee in charge of the octagon, Mark Goddard. And now, for those in attendance and UFC fans watching around the world, live from the sold-out arena in Stockholm, Sweden. And now introducing his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, a striker holding the professional record, 16 wins, 2 losses. He stands 65 inches tall, weighing in at 205 pounds. Fighting out of Stockholm, Sweden, Alexander
Okay, gentlemen, you both understand the rules you're fighting under. You listen to it all the time, you keep yourself protected at all times. When I say stop, you stop. Touch gloves, let's do this.
So Dan, don't know about you, but I feel like we are part of history. What a setting for this light heavyweight contest. Mark Goddard draws the assignment for the main event. It's the top of the bill showdown, 5 5-minute rounds in the light heavyweight division. Tonight's fight clock is sponsored by Kingsman, the Secret Service, in theatres, February 13th.
Every hair on my body is standing on end right now, John. I can't tell you how excited I am. Anthony Johnson immediately looking to cut the octagon down, take away that height advantage that Gustafsson's got. Perhaps chop him down with some low kicks. Gustafsson notoriously mobile on his feet. Oh, wow!
Johnson is winging these shots early.
Not pulling any punches, either guy.
We were speaking with Ilir Latifi earlier this evening, Dan, and he was saying just how tough Gustafsson is and what an intelligent fighter he is. If things aren't going his way, he can switch it up very quickly and find another way to win.
Yeah, well, he has a beautiful double leg. He pivots really well on the spot and circles his opponent to the canvas. We saw it against Jimmy Manuwa, and he was also the first guy to take down John Jones as well, which is a huge achievement on his record. This place is rumbling, John. I can feel the ground shake.
Well, Johnson with a
slight eye
poke there. It's been seen, and he's going to be given some time.
He seems to be all right.
Okay.
And Anthony Johnson complimenting Mark Goddard on his services.
Ready? Ready, guys. Let's go.
Time is indeed in. Oh! Massive right hand there by Johnson. And the static motion.
My goodness.
As he talks his body into absolutely everything.
Johnson's got a hell of a club. All he needs is one shot. Gustafsson's on his toes. He's got to stop that right hand from landing if he wants to stay on his feet.
Gustafsson showing that iron chin, that Viking warrior instinct.
Oh,
Johnson is
Johnson is pouring it on.
He's piling on the pressure here.
Good head movement from Gustafsson. He looks like he's struggling.
The Mauler is tumbling. Is he set for a rumbling?
He's still moving. Johnson's still working to finish, but Mark Goddard's taking a close look at Gustafsson.
He's being urged to defend himself intelligently. Anthony Johnson, a seasoned performer here, just not expending all of his energy.
Gustafsson trying to work back to his feet. This is a bad position for him, though. He's taking clean shots from Anthony Johnson. Oh, wow.
Anthony Johnson puts away the Mauler in Stockholm. It is absolutely silent in here on the back of that. The celebrations are the only noise that I can hear. And what an encounter that was. And an unbelievable result for Anthony Rumble Johnson. He just keeps on getting better.
That is scary.
Is there anyone else who can deal with that kind of power? Is there anyone that can generate that kind of power?
You've got to wonder what's going through John Jones's mind right now. Boom! Right to the side of the chin. That was a huge shot, followed up with a couple on the floor. Gustafsson did everything he could to recover there, but when you take a shot from Anthony Johnson like that, there's not a lot of people that can recover.
Well, Henry Hooft went down to the Black Zillions, and he saw that the guys were on their feet. They're a little bit light on their feet. They needed to plant their feet and adopt a more Dutch kickboxing style to really get that power behind the punches. And as we saw, how effective that was. Combine that with the background in wrestling that Anthony Rumble Johnson has. And that, I mean, Rumble didn't even know that it was going to go down that way.
Wow. I just do not know what to say. I'm lost for words, John, literally. The last thing that Anthony Johnson needed.
Send it back inside in just a moment and give it over to Bruce Buffer, who can make this all official and allow Anthony Johnson to have his moment. So, Fox UFC Fight Night is sponsored by Bud Light and by Harley Davidson. Here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Mark Goddard has called a stop to this contest at 2 minutes, 15 seconds of the very first round. Declaring the winner by TKO, Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Unbelievable performance there by Anthony Johnson. He's with Joe.
Nothing but respect, man. I'm here with the winner, Anthony Johnson. Wow. Anthony, you did what no one's been able to do inside the octagon. Stop Alexander Gustafsson with strikes and do so in the first round. Give us your thoughts on the fight, and was there anything that was unexpected?
Alex did everything that I thought he was going to do. He's an amazing athlete. I feel bad just because he's crying. You know what I mean? I'm an emotional guy, so I feel his pain. But I want to say thank you, Stockholm, for having me here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And John Jones, you know what I'm saying? I hope you get well, brother. Let's get this championship fight on, man, and make the crowd and the fans excited about this.
Congratulations on a spectacular victory.
Yeah, I want to thank the Black Zillions and Glenn Robinson and everybody else.
Anthony Rumble Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Alex, this is a tough moment for you, but you have the love and support of all these people here. Give us your thoughts on the fight.
Well, I felt great coming in here. I felt great in the couple of few minutes that we fought, and I felt great all the way. And he just caught me. I got caught today, and that's what happened.
I'm sure you'll be back. I'm sure you'll learn from this experience. You'll be back better than ever, and I look forward to seeing you fight again.
Jag vill tacka er alla som har kommit hit och stöttat oss här, alla fighters. Det betyder verkligen allt för en atleten fighter, och vi älskar er exakt lika mycket till, 100 gånger tillbaka. Tack snälla för att ni kom. Tack snälla.
What did you just say to them? Will you say in English?
And on English, thank you all guys for coming down here and to show all the fighters love, and we all appreciate that times 100. We love you back. We love you back, guys. Thank you.
You're very gracious in the defeat, sir. Alexander Gustafsson, ladies and gentlemen.
A disappointing night for Sweden's best. Johnson with the win. When we come back, Kurt Menefee, Daniel Cormier, and Brian Stano wrap things up.
What a finish it proved to be here at UFC Fight Night from Stockholm, Sweden. Almost 4 in the morning, and a lot of people will go home disappointed as the hometown guy was stopped in the first round. But as we welcome you back inside the Tele2 Arena, Kurt Menefee, Brian Stan, and Daniel Cormier. Brian, the rebirth of Anthony Johnson is spectacular. Back-to-back first-round finishes here on UFC Fight Night.
Could be the greatest turnaround in UFC history. And, you know, when we watched him fight Nogueira and Phil Davis, those were favorable matchups, so it was hard to tell, you know, if he had this type of potential. But this fight wasn't even close. He came out and he said, I'm going to use footwork. I have footwork that I have not shown before, and he was cutting off the octagon all night. He was very quick on his counters, and we've all known the kind of power he possesses. He lands this overhand right here as he comes in and dips his head against Alexander, and that was the beginning of the end. Once this man has you hurt, even his small punches here on the ground are heavy.
This is why we flip-flop all week on the picks. Johnson, Rumble, Johnson, Gustafsson, Johnson, because you didn't know what was going to happen in this fight. Yesterday, Rumble Johnson, if he can cut off the cage, he successfully cut off the cage, got his hands on Alexander Gustafsson early, and he ended up finishing the fight. Now, one thing that I did not like seeing tonight was this referee allowed Alexander Gustafsson to take too much damage when he was already hurt. He wasn't moving, so we had 2 fights tonight where people thought the fight was stopped too early. Now we had a fight where I thought Alexander Gustafsson took too much damage. I mean, we have to find a balance.
You have to wonder if that didn't happen because of the 30,000 people almost that were here to see Gustafsson. Anthony Johnson didn't care. Came into Sweden, won the fight. You guys will talk more about that on the post-fight show with John Anik over on Fox Sports 2. For those of you on Fox, your late local news is coming up next, except for those of you 9 time zones away on the West Coast. That'll do it for us from Sweden. For Kurt Menefee, I am Kurt Menefee for our entire crew saying good night.